Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie, and today I am here with Shveta Thakrar, author of Star Daughter.
Hi.
Here we go.
Oh,
So
even better.
beautiful. I'm so happy that I got to see the video of you holding and opening the package. The whole book is so pretty.
It is. It's so pretty. So pretty.
Anyhow, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I just got bitten by a couple mosquitoes outside, but I'm doing well.
So thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited and honored to get to discuss this book with you.
Aw.
And before we begin, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Hero Voices. Hero Voices is focused on putting Own Voices novels in the hands of Own Voices reviewers. We feel that it's important for reviewers in marginalized communities to read the stories that were meant for them. Rarely do we hear their voices and their experiences, and it's our mission to amplify and support diversity in the publishing industry. Our tours consist of Own Voices reviewers who have the opportunity to share their thoughts on the stories that represent them. These discussions we hold with authors provide another insight to the novel that we advocated to host for our readers. So without further ado, let's get started.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Star Daughter and introduce the book to anyone who doesn't know?
Sure. So basically, Sheetal is half human, half star, and on the cusp of her 17th birthday, just a few days before, her starry qualities that she'd pushed down are starting to come up, and she accidentally burns her dad with her flame, with her starry flame, her human dad. And there's no cure for that except a drop of star's blood. But her mom has gone back to the heavenly realm of Swerglok, so Sheetal realizes that she's just going to have to go on a quest to find her mom and get that drop. But what she doesn't realize is once she gets there, in order to get the drop, she has to win a competition that she never signed up for.
Yes, it's very magical. I had so much fun. I felt like I didn't know where it was taking me, but I was so happy to go along for the ride and visit these celestial worlds that
Hey.
So I'm very much a lover of moon and stars, and to get to see it in a different context like that was really interesting, and I really loved it.
Thank you.
So how did the story come together? What came first? Was it the plot, the characters, or was it something else entirely?
I actually got inspired by, where is it right now? Let me grab it. By this book, if you can see it.
Ooh, yes.
Neil Gaiman's and Charles Vess's Illustrated Stardust. I found that on a bookstore shelf in 2001, I believe, and I thought, oh, this looks cool. And I took it home and I fell in love with it. And I read it many times over the years following. And then I watched the movie version when it came out, and it just struck me then that it was, I would love to see a story like that, but where the stars looked like me and could be brown or black and not just white. If there were going to be people, they should look like all people. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to write a short story about a girl whose mother is from a Hindu constellation. But then I realized she was going to have to go on that quest to find her mom, and quests don't fit into short stories. So novel it became.
Yes. I am very much of a fan of the movie Stardust. It's one of my favorite movies. I can watch it over and over again. So to have this story like Star Daughter means so much. It's so good to see, different cultures represented in stories that you don't really think that you can be in them, because most of the time, it's done by white authors and things like that. So to see other cultures in fantasy is really amazing.
And that's why I'm doing it, because I didn't get that when I was a kid, and I want to make sure that that's not a problem anymore. And it's great that there are a bunch of us trying to do this kind of thing now, and I'm really excited to see just how it keeps expanding, and what the next even 5 years bring us.
Yeah, so exciting. So my next question for you has to do with your author letter at the beginning of the book. So you mentioned that you decided to write the stories that you never had, and you mentioned this earlier. So how was the experience of writing a story centered around Hindu mythology?
Well, when I first started writing seriously in 2006, I decided then that I was going to do this. I mean, not that I didn't know about that I was going to be writing Star Daughter. What I mean is I knew that I was always going to write Hindu characters, and I was always going to draw on my mythology and folklore. And that's not in every, like I have a bunch of short stories out already, and that's not necessarily in every one of them, but the flavor is there. So for me, it just, I call it writing loving fan fiction to my gods. I mean, that's what it feels like. Like here's taking these wonderful old stories and, bringing them into modern day and making them accessible for anybody, even if you don't know anything about Hinduism and you don't know anything about Indian culture or Indian American culture, that, it can be fun for everyone, and it will mean different things depending on who's reading it.
Yes, and I don't identify as Indian or Indian American, but reading it was such a wonderful experience. I learned new words and new concepts and things like that, and I kept on searching, like, what does this mean, and who is this person, and what's this constellation, and things like that. So I love the food, all the mention of the food. That was great, and it gave me such bad cravings. I miss home. I used to live in the Bay Area in California, and I miss all my Desi friends and all their food and their culture. It's just so amazing. And then all the fashion too.
Yes.
That you mentioned in the book, that was amazing. And I really love that. I love that Manal and Padmini mentioned all those things, and I got to see that and all the jewelry. I wish that we got like more fan art with that kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure hoping that people do that. I'm dying to see. So
yes.
I feel like I put so much good stuff in there. Please have fun playing with it. So
yeah, I hope that people get inspired, because definitely has a lot. You wrote so many good descriptions, and I think everything was so detailed. So it's a great way to get to do those things. So moving on, what was your favorite part about writing Star Daughter?
Building the worlds that the scenes that, or the places that I would absolutely want to go to. Like the night market is 100% wish fulfillment for me. Lovingly detailed over many years. Same with everything up in the Starry Court. It's, I just thought, let me have fun with this. And if I have fun with it, then other people reading it will have fun with it too. But ultimately, that's why I wrote it. All the places I want to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that scene with the night market, I feel like if you wrote a whole book with it, if you do, please do. if you're thinking about it, because it was amazing. And
well, let me say quickly, if anybody wants a sneak peek of what the night market is like, well, if anyone would like a sneak peek of what the night market looks like, go to my website. It's the background. And I also have a little night market link if you want to click on that. So
we'll definitely check that out. And for everyone to check it out, it'll probably be down below. But no, definitely, I read that scene, and I had seen your website before, because I make sure to go through all those things as part of what I do here. And I was so struck by the beauty of it. It was amazing. And then to get to read it was something else entirely. There's so many booths and things that they go through, and they're there for a short amount of time, but it feels like a whole day, because there's so much.
Well, if you want to know a little secret, in earlier drafts, I was just having so much fun with it that when my agent finally read it, she was like, "I love this, but you have to like keep the story moving. I know you want to just stay here and have Sheetal wander and have fun, but she has to keep."
No, and I mean, I don't blame you for that. I feel like if I were writing it, I would do the same thing, because it's just so much fun. No, I really did enjoy that. It was amazing, and I'm glad that we got to see that. So my next question is, can you tell us 5 fun facts about your main character, Chapal?
Well, let's see. So Sheetal plays the harp and also the dilruba, which is an Indian instrument. Sheetal, I don't know that this is a fun fact, but like me, Sheetal has excoriation disorder, where it's nervous picking at your fingers, and other fun facts. She, gosh, I'm not sure what to say. If she could, if her everybody had let her, she absolutely would have been a showboat and shown off what she could do with her singing, if she could have, if she'd been allowed to. And and going forward, maybe that, who knows, maybe that is what she'll do. We'll see. Um, Gosh, can we come back to this? Because I know there's more of it. I'm blanking right now.
We can definitely come back to it. So when I was reading the whole nail picking, I guess I've never noticed that I do it too. And when I was reading it, I noticed that I would do it when she would mention it. I would do it too.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, and like it's such a very small detail, but it, in a way, I noticed that I had it too. I do mess with my nails a lot, I guess, just because it's a tick. It's just normal stuff.
It's a nervous tick, right? Actually, the reason I chose to put that in there was I wanted to make it very clear that even if she is half star, she's still also very much half human, and she still has to deal with our problems as well.
Yes, and I got that too. The scene where she gets there and to the starry court, and she's eating with her, her star family, or the whole court. They make this dish for her, and she notices how it's different from the dish that she grew up loving. And I thought that was a nice contrast of, being in this celestial palace, and then in Earth, and they don't have the same ingredients. It's done differently, kind of thing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. I'm very much about the details.
Oh, me too. Me too. So I'm glad that you have an eye for appreciating them.
Yes. So we talked about Stardust inspiring you as well, but are there any other books that have inspired you, or any new reads that you've discovered?
I'm trying to think. I don't know where it is right now, but the other, when I was trying to do comp titles, or deciding what comp titles would be for Star Daughter, I said it was Born Confused. Stardust meets Born Confused, and Born Confused was the first novel in the first South Asian YA novel in the North American market, and it's by Thanuja Desai Hidir, and she's Gujarati like me. So I was working in publishing when I found it on a table at a book swap event, and I was just like, "There's a brown girl with the bindi on her forehead. This is real. I'm gonna go get it," and I did, and I have that copy. It's up there on the shelf somewhere, but yeah, I have it 19 years later, and I wanted to do a fantasy version of it, basically, that someone who's her culture is a big part of who she is, but she's also American, and then just throw in magic on top of that. So
I love that. I've never heard of that book, so I definitely have to check it out, because I know that you mentioned it in the author letter as well. Also, can I point out that I love your library behind you?
Thank you.
It's so cute.
I see no reason why I should have boring white shelves, so I painted them.
No, I like that. I love that. It's pink and purple. I can't stop staring at them. Let's see. Are there any new reads that you've discovered besides those? Anything that you're liking right now?
Yes, I really loved reading A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. Also, A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. And I just started 2 books one that's not out yet, but will be, and one that is. The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning. It's not a retelling, but it's a reimagining of The Princess Bride, inspired by The Princess Bride, and I'm really enjoying that when I have time to read it, which right now is not so much. And also I dipped into, and I'm hoping to get back to that too, probably not until Star Daughter comes out, but the Night Shine by Tessa Gratton. I'm really enjoying that as well.
Oh, that's great to know. I just read A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, and I really loved it too.
I really keep telling Rosie, hurry up, give me book 2.
I know, but then we have to wait. And the good thing about reading books before and things like that, you get to know what's happening, but then the wait is so long. So definitely has its pros and cons. So, what is the one thing that you want readers to take away from Star Daughter?
That, I mean, there are a few things, but if I had to pick one, that there is a place for everybody, and nobody should let anyone else define what that is for them.
Mhm. I love that. It's really nice to, a lot of, I'm not a young adult anymore, I'm not a teen anymore, but these books are meant for them and they are just trying to find their place in the world, trying to see how their culture fits into, you know, another culture if they're in a different country that's not, their heritage country. So it's really good that we get books like this right now. And, they were so few when I was a teenager, and now there's this boom and all these wonderful ones, and you get to go all around the world or experience fantasy worlds so inspired by different cultures like that. So it's great that other readers have that avenue.
Yes, it makes me so happy because I remember when it was not like that at all, and that wasn't that long ago.
I know, because I wasn't a teen that long ago, like a few years, but after college and things like that, it started to kind of pick up, and hopefully we'll get even more now.
I think it will. I think it's just going to keep getting momentum and going and going. So.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I wanted to ask a little bit more about the characters. And let's see, I want to start with Manal because I really loved her. And I think she was that scene where they're just going up and hopping on a cloud and things like that. It was, I never read anything as such before. It was so magical.
Oh, thank you.
How did you come up with, the best friend, and how did you know, I guess, that they would mesh together, Chapal and Manal?
Well, I knew from the beginning. I mean, how the friendship happened changed a bit through the drafts, but I knew always that I wanted a best friendship between girls that would not ever get catty. They wouldn't turn on each other. Like that would be the one thing that was constant in the book, even if nothing else was. That was really important to me because we don't see enough of that. We don't see enough messages that say we don't, just because we live in a patriarchal world doesn't mean that we have to turn on each other and think like that there's only room for one of us, so we have to cut the rest of us down, when really we're much stronger together and there is room for all of us. And if there's not, we'll break the walls down and make room for everybody. Like that was really important to me. So and I eventually realized that like Minal needed to go with her with Shizl to the Starry Court because of that she would be her support system there and to the very end, and she was.
Yes, I love seeing the friendship, and I think you're right. It's a lot of friendships usually start off very strong in books, and then there's a really big conflict, and they may never get back to what it was. And we don't just see it in books; we see it in movies too, and all the media that surrounds us. So I think that their relationship is so good because there's so much love between them and so much support, from Chapal's side and from Manal's side. Both of them just kind of uplift each other. So it was great to see that kind of relationship.
That makes me
happy. And then I guess the next question has to be about Dev. Because he is very dreamy. And I really loved him, and I really loved his role and everything. So was he always there? Has he been there from the beginning?
Actually no. In the first draft he was not. I'd actually written a different love interest, but I didn't want the love interest there, and you could tell. Like the people who read critique partners, they were all like, hey, this is really boring. And I was like, yeah, it is. And it's because I didn't want it. I was forced. And then I threw that out completely when I started rewriting the book. And then the idea came to me of how Dave could be part of the bigger story. And that made the romance to me interesting, rather than, just shoehorning in a boyfriend just to have one, actually make this whole part of the story. And then I got really excited about it. His character started to fall into place, especially with a throwaway remark Roshni took she gave me years ago when she looked at, I think it was draft 2, where she was like, what if he sang at the family party? And it all went from there.
Yes, I love how he was part of the big story. I was when I was reading, I was wondering, I could feel that he was going to be, but I was very curious as to how he would be incorporated into that. And I really liked the way that it happened. It's surprising.
I liked it too.
And then, so an aspect is the competition, right? It's a huge thing, and there's a lot of stakes going on with it. So I guess my question for it is, was it always going to be an artistic competition?
It wasn't even in the book at first. Like my friend Holly Black had read an early draft as well, and she's really good at plotting. Like, I credited her in the acknowledgements as plot whisper extraordinaire, because she is. And I said, Holly, I know that I have something here, but I don't, like, I need help. And so she read the draft and she helped me, and then she told me, you need to change, like, you need different stakes once she throws up in the Starry Court, not just trying to save her dad, but beyond that. And she said, what if you have a competition of some kind? And I thought about that, and then it came to me that it could be the art competition. I don't want to say more than that to spoil anything, but yeah.
Yes, and I love how creative it was. I think that most of the time when we get a competition or a tournament, is very based on either analytical skills or anything physical, like sports and things like that. So it was really interesting to see an art competition.
Thank you.
It was really fun to read.
Yay! I'm glad to hear that, because one of the things that I was thinking was writing something like that is a challenge, because it's a competition like that's so very visual, and you're doing all of this in words. So if anybody thinks I pulled it off, thank you.
I think you did. I think you did an amazing job on it.
Thank you.
It was really fun to, I could envision it in my head. And like I said, you provide so many details, and the scenes have so much, they're so rich. So it's easy to envision it and, kind of create the world in your head.
Well, for me as a writer, because I am so very visual and love description so much, I imagine I'm painting with words. So thank you.
I like that. I don't think I've ever heard that. It's a good way to kind of mix the two of them. So let's see. I think that was it. I think those were all my questions. If you have anything else that you want to say to the readers, or any advice that you want to give or anything.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to anyone who is considering picking up the book. That means the world to me, and I'm still honestly having trouble. I'm still having trouble looking at this and processing that it's real. Like, I did it, and it looks like this. What a blessing. But just considering that I started writing seriously in 2006, and I started writing Star Daughter in 2013. It's really surreal to have this now. When they showed up the other day, I was just like, my husband came upstairs and he said, there are 2 boxes from HarperCollins, and they say final release on them. And I was like, because I hadn't had any, I didn't know they were coming right then. So I was like, let's go. We ran downstairs and opened the boxes, and sure enough, and yeah, I can't believe it. So, like, yeah, I'm really happy. And if anybody, whoever wants to pick this up, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it speaks to you. I hope it brings you some magic and a chance to escape and fire up your own imaginations, because that's what I wanted, to make a fun book about brown kids and using my mythology. And I hope it also gets you interested to find out more, if you're not familiar with Hindu myth, or even if you are, to just look up the stories. They're amazing. They're so rich and fun and contradictory and weird. And mythology is awesome. And I mean, from anywhere, mythology is awesome. But since we're talking about Hindu mythology, I'd say definitely give it a look. And as for advice, the thing that I've been learning, especially now, is you're never going to be able to please everybody. So work on pleasing yourself. Find what speaks to you and live from that. And also, and this is my little plea for everybody, we could really use more kindness in the world. Let's all work on that.
I definitely agree. We really do, and I love that you said that. Honestly, it's I think that's amazing, and we really need more kindness out there. So I just want to thank you so much for your time, and I'm so glad that I got to do this and I got this opportunity. It's Star Daughter has been one of my most anticipated releases this year, so to get to do this with you has been such an honor, honestly.
That's so sweet. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to do it. That means a lot to me.
Of course. So to anyone watching, if you want to follow Shveta on socials, please make sure to go down to the description box. We will have all those links down below. Star Daughter. Oops, there we go. Look at this cover. It's so beautiful. And it will be released on August 11th. So go pre-order if you haven't done so, or request at your library. And be sure to follow along with the tour for amazing reviews and creative content by Own Voices creators. Believe me, you won't want to miss it because we have some amazing stuff coming your way. And links to the schedule will be also down below. And happy reading.